Today is Financial Fitness Friday, and Financial Fitness Friday is not about giving financial advice per se. Financial Fitness Fridays is about encouraging people to get things in order so they can be financially fit for their future, for anything that they set out to do. So it was fitting for me to have this session tonight as we are leading into the end of the year, because this is the time, if not any time, to start preparing and thinking ahead to the new year. Setting goals, planning, and being committed to those goals and to those plans. And so this is what tonight's session is about. It's very important. Tonight's session is the first stage to investing. Cultivating a future planning mindset. Remember, everything is about mindset. Everything is about getting yourself mentally, emotionally, and spiritually aligned with the things that you're trying to do. So this is very important, and we're going to get into this because it's not a long message. And once again, my Financial Fitness Fridays is to break down and to simplify the financial matters, not to make it complicated like everyone else does and make people feel that they're overwhelmed or that they're out of place. It's not what it's about. It's about making it as real as possible from where each of us is at. So let's get into this. I am D.E. Wilder, and this is Financial Fitness Friday, where we are focusing on financial fitness for the future. Today's session is about the first stage to investing, cultivating a future planning mindset. Gotta have the right mindset. Let's go. So welcome to today's conversation. That's what we have. We're having conversations. Because I would love the interaction. I would love if someone has a question or someone has a comment, please share. Let's engage. This is not a session about chasing money. This is not a session about stock tips, shortcut, nor overnight success. It's not what it's about. This is a conversation very simply about mindset. Because before you ever can invest $1, you must first invest in how you think about $1. So today we're talking about the first stage to investing. And the stage that is simply not about financial. You may think about investing, think about financial, but we're going to go a little deeper than that. Because it's actually about mental. It's about emotional. And it's also about being intentional. That's what it's really about. That's where it starts. Because investing begins the moment you decide that your future deserves preparation. So as we always do in a reflective moment, we take a moment, we get prepared for the conversation in the session. Let's take a breathing moment where we breathe in peace and we exhale and release. Because this is where many people go wrong. Because they think about investing and they think about it starts with your income, how much money you have, or it starts with the platform that you're using. It starts with where the market is. But investing actually begins with a simple power shift. Let's talk about this power shift. A power shift in mindset. One that you're going to say to yourself, I am no longer living for today. I am building for tomorrow. And once that shift happens, you'll see that everything changes. So, we asked the question, why most people never start investing? Now, that's a fundamental question because I think most people won't even understand how few people are directly invested into the market. In fact, in the U.S. market, it's less than 25% of individual of the overall population are directly invested in the stock market. In fact, it's closer to 20%. It's 21.5%. Now, whereas for the U.S. as a whole, maybe like over 60% of individuals may have investments, but those investments are indirectly through maybe 401k, managed funds. It may be through stock options with your company and things of that matter. But directly purchasing stock, less than 25% of individuals are invested in the stock market. Why is that? Why most people never start on their own to have this vehicle of financial freedom and another diversification in their portfolio, whether it's big or small? So let's speak honestly about this. Most people do not avoid investing because they don't care about their future. That's obvious. They avoid it because the future feels uncertain, intimidating, and sometimes it feels out of reach. So we hear things like these terms that may be intimidating for most. Stocks, bonds, index fund, hedge fund, retirement fund, risk, volatilities. And suddenly investing feels like an unfamiliar language that you never was taught to speak. But here is the truth. The biggest barrier to investing is not about lack of funds, lack of money. It's lack of clarity and confidence. Many people are operating in survival mode. What is that? Paycheck to paycheck, crisis to crisis, moment to moment. And when you are constantly reacting in life, there is little room for you to design your life. So the first stage to investing is not to go and open up an account, one would think, but it's stepping out of survival thinking and into future thinking. So ask yourself, do I believe my future is worth planning for? Ask yourself, where do I see myself 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now? Am I making decisions today that honors the person I'm becoming? Those are fundamental questions to start asking yourself to get yourself mentally prepared, emotionally prepared, psychologically prepared for all that is ahead of you. If the answer is to those questions, not yet, that's okay. That's fine, because once again, we are all becoming who we are going to be. Because really, everything starts with awareness. Because awareness is the beginning of change. It's a good place to start. So you want to get into future planning mindset. What is that? A future planning mindset is simple, but it's more than just being something, elementary and simple. It's actually powerful. Because when you get into a future planning mindset, it means that you are preparing yourself to delay some gratification today for stability tomorrow. You stop seeing money only as something to spend. You begin seeing money as something that can work for you, work for your future. This mindset says things like, I don't need to know everything right now. I just need to start thinking ahead and planning ahead right now. Future-focused people do not panic about short-term fluctuation. They understand that growth takes time, patience, and very importantly, consistency. So here's the key truth. Investing rewards discipline, not necessarily perfection. You don't need to predict the market. You don't need to be fearless of the market. You don't need to be wealthy for the market. You just need to be committed. Committed to learning, starting small, being consistent, and thinking long term instead of short term. Future planning is not about fear of tomorrow, but in fact, it's about respect for your tomorrow. So, it's going to take a little transition in the way, in a shift in the way you have done things before versus what you're going to do in the future. You have to now start rewriting your relationship with your money. You have to start thinking about things differently. Before you invest externally, you must invest internally. Once again, self-reflection. Ask yourself, was money discussed openly when I was growing up? Was money associated with stress, scarcity, silence? Do I believe wealth is something that is for other people as opposed to myself? Many people unconsciously carry belief like, I'll never have enough. I'm not good with money. Those things I'm just not good with. Investing is risky and it's dangerous. Those are the beliefs that people carry with them, and those beliefs becomes impediments. But belief shapes behavior. So it can go both ways. It can be a positive behavior or it can be a negative behavior. So the first stage of investing, which includes rewriting your money story, is reframing your thought and your mindset. So let's try. Let's have a little exercise and try some reframing right now. A reframing would be like, money is not the goal. Money is the tool. Investing is not a gamble. Investing is participating in my long-term growth. You're not gambling or betting, but in fact, you're building. When you shift from the fear to deeper understanding, from avoidance to curiosity, that power compounds. And just like investments can compound as well. So, mindset shift. This is what's important. So what does the first stage actually look like? Let's make this very simple. And as I said, everything I'm talking about always is very practical, very where we're at right now. It's not going to be over anybody's head because it doesn't need to be. I think people intentionally try to overcomplicate things, but we're going to simplify. So let's make this practical. The first stage of investing does not require action in the market yet. The actions actually look like this. Stability first. So you got to have an action plan. Have a savings, emergency savings plan. If you saw, was able to experience some of my past sessions, with my financial go bag mindset, was very important and very good to have all these key information in it. The foundation of that is emergency savings. Reduce high interest debt. So that's getting your financial in order. A basic budget that gives your money direction, gives you a financial plan. That was step number one. Education, financial education, without overwhelming yourself. Learning the basic concepts, understanding time horizon, knowing the difference between short-term trading and long-term investing, which is very important and very different. Small, consistent steps. Key, consistency. It's going to be part of everything you do. It's going to be the key part to the planning. Start with amounts that don't create anxiety, that you don't have to worry about. Automating and automation where you can. So you have some automatic investments or automatic reinvestments of dividends, if it's dividend paid out. Things of that nature, automated, where you're not actually have to engage in transactions, where there's a level of automation that just have this done, seamlessly. Focusing on habits, your habits, positive habits, and not necessarily the results immediately. Long-term vision. if you're going to see some real difference making, if you're going to see a difference in the results of your financial planning, you're going to have a long-term vision. Don't look for the short spurts and the short returns. Think long-term. Long-term for your financial stability. So you're thinking retirement. You're thinking generational stability. You're thinking a level where you're going to get to of having freedom of choice. This stage is not about just money, not about financial, but about alignment. Aligning your spending, your savings, and your future goal, and bringing them all together as one. You don't have to rush this stage. You simply have to respect this stage, because a strong foundation holds a lot of weight, and a weak one can certainly collapse under pressure. So think about it that way. Investing as an act of self-respect. This is very important, because I always tell anyone, no matter what you're doing, you should respect what you're doing. When you respect what you're doing respects you. So let's say something powerful in the affirmation realms here. Investing is an act of self-respect. So it says something like this: I believe my future matters. I believe I deserve financial security. I believe my life will continue to prosper and grow. When you invest, you're speaking to yourself and to your future self. And you're saying things like, I didn't forget about you. My future, you are on my mind. And that's powerful. That's a powerful statement. That's a powerful affirmation for yourself. So understand this. Regardless of where you at in building your financial future, especially if this message is for people who are in the beginning stages, understand that you're not late. You're not behind. You're not incapable. You are simply at the beginning of a new mindset. And that beginning stage, that young stage, is a very sacred stage, an important stage. And it's where you build the foundation for the future that you want for yourself. It's what we call planting seeds. That's very important. So before I close the part one, I want you to sit with this thought. You don't need to have everything figured out, because most people don't. Even if they act like they do not. You don't need to have everything in order. You just need to start thinking differently about your financial future. The first stage of investing is not money movement. It's mind shifting. All about mindset. A seed planted today may not grow immediately or even tomorrow, but it grows quietly, steadily, and faithfully, in time and over time. And one day you'll look back and realize that the moment you chose to plant a seed for your future. And with that moment, your future begins to change. And effectively, it's changed for the better. So that's why it's important to plan today for tomorrow. So let's move to the second part of this Financial Fitness Friday. First stage to investing, part 2. From mindset to movement. Building the first investment rhythm. Everything is about alignment, about getting your life in alignment and building a rhythm for yourself where everything just starts to flow. You can get there. Trust me. Closing the threshold. Because in part 1, we were talking about awakening of the mindset. Awakening of the mindset and having the right mindset as we're moving forward. And part two is about honoring the commitment that you made for yourself. Because once you decide your future matters, then the next question becomes, what does action look like? What does steadfastly commitment look like without fear? Because it's not about fast movement and fast returns. It's not about that. It's not about rushing. As I just mentioned, it's about your rhythm. It's about how you are coming in alignment with everything that you're setting out to do and to become. Investing should not be a sprint. Now, it could be. It could be for individuals who have a lot of disposable money, an individual who has a lot of risk tolerance. Everything comes down to risk tolerance of where you are on that spectrum. But if you're thinking about your future, it should not be about a sprint. It's about the relationship that you build with your financial planning over time. And today we are moving quietly and gently from mindset into actionable movement. So first, understanding time, and as time being your greatest asset. When people think of investing, they think of money first. And that's the first thing that comes to mind, obviously. But seasoned investors know simple things. Things like time is currency. Time gives you room to breathe. Time allows compounding. And in some future sessions, we'll start talking about compounding and how that grows your investment quickly. But it starts allow compounding, and it does it quietly, and it does it faithfully, and it does it over time. Time reduces pressure and panic. Future focus and future focus investing will ask things like, how long can I leave this money untouched without having to even think about it? Am I investing for growth, for income, or for preservation? What season of my life am I preparing for? These are self-reflecting questions that you have to ask yourself and you have to answer for yourself. What investing advice that is outdated or misleading that you may have heard of? That is a funny question. It's an interesting question because it's so many. I'll go back to what I started with. My Financial Fitness Fridays is about simplifying financial matters and helping people to understand that this is not something that's foreign. This is not something that's over your head. This is not something that you don't understand, but it's actually in your grasp. And it's something that you have to do and you have to work on and you have to start where you're at. That to answer that question is so many things because they always, you go back to the old myth of buy low and sell high. Well, what does that mean? Have you seen stock prices lately? It's so many myths and innuendos and different things as it comes to stock. So you got to start with the basics. Start with the basics and start where you're at and not listen to all the noise out there. If you listen to all the noise, then you talk about private equity and hedge funds and all these different things that's going on out there, index funds and stuff like that. Most of that stuff is for sophisticated investors. Most of that stuff is a financial game that most people won't even grasp and does not have the risk tolerance or the money for. What we're talking about at this level is investing for the future and planning and creating solid foundation for our future. So there are so many I can't even get to what are misleading concepts and stuff like that. Let's just stay focused on the basics right now. But that was a good question. Are you supposed to be like the Suge Knight from T-Boo? I guess if that's what you want me to be. So keep on listening. We're going to keep on going. So what season of life am I preparing for? You have to ask yourself. You don't rush seeds. Remember, we're planting seeds and you don't rush it. You plant them with patience. And the earlier you plant them, the stronger the roots in time and over time. Start small without shame. If you listen to the market, if you listen to financial news and all that, you got to get in. Look at the stock prices for these tech stocks and everything's going on, and you start to feel like, well, I'm not in that, or I can't get in that, or that's not for me. No, it is for you. But you just have to start small. You don't have to get in the most, attractive stocks out there and the highest stocks. You don't have to invest in Berkshire Hathaway. You could start small. Start where you're at without any shame. So let's release, as we were just talking about, the myth right here and right now. I need a lot of money to start investing. That's a myth. You do not. What you need is consistency, not a large amount. Small investments builds confidence. So that's what you want to do. You want to get your feet wet. You want to start with a small. In fact, an early investor can actually buy fractional investments. That'll be something for a later session as well, where you don't even have to buy the full price of a stock. You can buy fractional and then have dividends reinvestment or periodic reinvestment and stuff like that as you build. So you don't have to go all in. Start small. As you build your confidence, you reduce your fears, you create discipline, and the number one thing that's going to do is teach patience, which is you're going to need. You're going to need in time and overtime. There is no shame in starting where you are. There is only power in starting at all. A future planning mindset says things like, I will begin even if it's imperfect. Because in an imperfect beginning can often have a powerful outcome. That's just the fact of the matter. Start where you're at. And most people get hung up. They think they gotta be, they gotta do, I gotta know, I gotta go. No, start where you are. Emotional discipline versus market noise. One of the most overlooked part of investing is emotional discipline. Why, one may ask? Because things happen. That's why. Market rises, markets fall, headline screams urgency. But discipline and a disciplined investor will understand panic is expensive. Patience, in time, over time, is profitable. Long-term vision, silence short-term fears. So you got to think long-term. You are not investing as a game for excitement. You are investing for stability and financial freedom for your future. When emotion rises, you want to return to where you started. Your initial goals, your why. Why did I start? What am I building? And what am I building this for? What future am I preparing for and or protecting? Remember, clarity calms fears. So you want to act at all times with clarity and focus. Aligning investment with your life goal. As I mentioned, everything you want to come into alignment. Investment and investing is not separated from your life, but it's supposed to support it. You are investing for things like a peace of mind. You're investing for things like having choices, flexibility, and ultimately legacy. Future planning means aligning money with your meaning. Your investment should support the life that you live, the rest and the peace that you want to have in your life and you want to enjoy, the impact that you ultimately want to leave in your life as your legacy. Money follows your intention. When the intention is clear, decisions become clearer and easier. So trust your process and trust it. Trusting the process. So here's a simple and what I call a quiet truth. Investing not only teaches patience, but it humbles egos. It rewards consistency in time. You will not always feel like you made the right choices. You will not always feel like you're confident. But you will, in time and over time, trust the process as you build. And you're building in time and it's showing up what you're doing, the results, month after month, year after year. This is not about control, because obviously you do not have absolute control. But this is about being committed to your plan and to your future. So let's take one last reflective breathing method. Breathe in peace, exhale and release. Your future does not need to be perfect. Good luck trying to get a perfect future. But it needs you to be present. Every intentional step that you take today is a message for yourself tomorrow. It's a message that you leave for yourself that say, I see you. I'm preparing for you. I didn't forget you. And that's a powerful message to leave yourself. Investing is not just financial, but it's greater than that. If you think about what I'm talking about, when you come in alignment with mindset, emotion, spirit, all in alignment, then it becomes very spiritual. It becomes emotional. And it's an act of self-honor. So if that's the case, move gently, stay consistent, and trust your time and your timing. Your future is listening to every word and watching your every action that you're doing today. So there you have it. Financial Fitness Friday with D.E. Wilder. Financial fitness for the future. So thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing to grow. Thank you for honoring the life ahead of you, because you're preparing for your future. Till next time, stay intentional, stay grounded, and always invest in becoming who you are designed to be. If this message made a difference to you, and I hope it did, please share it with someone who you feel may need to hear it. Important. Stay rooted, stay blessed, and keep living your life with kindness, clarity, and purpose. I am D. Wilder, and this is Financial Fitness Friday, focusing on financial fitness for the future. I bid you farewell. Happy holidays. Peace and blessings.